So we're on page Kuf Bey's fourth line. We are still on Koches Pnimiyim. Koches Pnimiyim, by definition, are definitive, very focused in their operation. They identify what they're going to do before they attempt to do it. Not only that, they identify how they're going to do it before they do it. That's Koches Pnimiyim. They're contained within a keli, which means they're pre-defined, circumscribed completely within a keli. A keli puts a total identification, a total limit. This is where you are, and you don't protrude out of this perimeter. And that is the only way for these koches to function. As you can readily see, we're talking about sechel being the muscle. If sechel is not focused, and it flies all over the place, not only that, if it allows an external thought to intrude, he'll lose it, the whole thing. Okay, so we are starting, I said the fifth line, exactly the fifth line. The culture change, so far we're talking about the preparation of the part of the koyach, how it focuses in its own keli, in its own function. The culture change who came, surely this is true. The slapshus ha-koyach hazeh, but this koyach, whichever koyach it is, k'moi koyach ha-sechel, as for example, koyach ha-sechel, b'sharei koyches, when it's mislavesh in other koyches. If sechel is to have an effect, an influence on midas, for example, there has to be a preconception, contemplation. What is this? What am I trying to effect? If you want to develop ahava, you have to think of ahava exclusively. You cannot think of yira. You have to think of chesed. You cannot think of gvura at the same time. In Hashem, after we conclude this, we're ready to step over to the other phase. We'll try to put this in perspective, the significance of all this. Not how it operates, but what is so significant about it. V'zehu gamkein, came at the end of the fifth line, v'zehu gamkein hasiba. This too is the reason, the cause, she'otzorech li is beseder v'hadroga v'lavko. That the functional aspect of the koyach has to develop and be brought out beseder in an orderly fashion, v'hadroga, and a graduated manner. First things first. we had a very simple demonstration of this in extremely simple, but it is a correct demonstration. We're talking about setting up a room with tables and chairs. We talk about many different things. Seder Hadroga means in the proper order. You're not going to put out the chairs before you put the tables out. That would be foolish. This is a kind of a physical illustration. The real reason why you would not put out the chairs before you put on the table is not merely because the chairs will interfere with your movements and you won't be able to put the table where you want to put it, because every time you move it, you put it there, you have to move the chairs. This is the superficial view. Rather, the real principle behind it is, when you put down the chair, it has to have a meaning, it has to have a place. Put out a table, it has no place. It has a physical place, but it doesn't have, so to speak, the principle of a chair, a place. So you haven't done anything, you can't even relate to this action. How does it's supposed to be done? Say the Vadroga. First you organize the room and say, okay, how is it going to be? And how many chairs are going to be around this table? Are the chair going to stand over the length of the table, or are you going to have head chairs at the edge of the table as well, or at the end of the table also? All these things have to be contemplated. This is the meaning of Kos Pnimiyim. And if it is not pre-contemplated properly, then the room does not represent a true, full-fledged, so to speak, spirit of a human room. And the spirit of a human room is extremely important for you to be able to participate and get in with your full being to focus on what you need to focus. And this is the Seder HaDroga. You develop it stepwise. Because Sharidei Slapshus Davka. The following couple of lines we have to listen very carefully. What the Rebbe says. Alidei Slapshus Davka. Only by being Slapshus. Slapshus means getting personally involved. Identifying oneself, or the koyach, with the inyan where you're putting it. This means Slapshus. Just as when you put a jacket on, the jacket, the body is melubash by the jacket. It's identified by the jacket. The Gemara says, "Monim chabduso," garments expressed the honor of a person, the dignity of a person. It's a garment, but the person is mislabish in the garment, and he presents himself.
On this call, press 1.
He presents himself via this garment. So only alidei hislapshus shehu inyan, and what is the principle behind hislapshus? Hamiyut v'hagbola, the reduction and the limiting aspect. Circumscription. Sheba mimadrega lemadrega. that comes as we proceed from one madriga to the other madriga. And in the process of proceeding from madriga to madriga, the central thought, central message of the koyach itself is contained. It's limited. And what is it limited to? It is limited to what it can do in the circumstance that it's supposed to be doing. Not what it is capable of doing, but what it's supposed to be doing. And that comes from madriga to madriga. By judging it from one madriga to the other, you identify the functional aspect of this koyach. And as a result of that, through this hislapshus, Rebbe translate as miyut v'hagbola sheba madriga madriga. That's hislapshus. Again, you put on the jacket, you have now contained your body, so to speak, in this jacket. You're no longer free as you were prior to put on this jacket. And then, as a result, and by the process of his lapsus, of getting deeply involved and identifying himself, the koyach, with this situation, then yuchal hislabesh, that enables him to be mislabesh and to get involved with koyach shehu tachton lagabei, in a koyach that is low relative to him. There's a lower koyach relative to this koyach. In order that the sechel should be able to relate to midos, which is a koyach tachton, legabei relative to the koyach ha-sechel. The sechel has to be mislabesh in the situation.
What does that mean?
Midos, for example, chesed and gvura. Chesed and gvura pertain, as we already learned, there has to be a subject. There has to be somebody to whom you're going to do chesed and to whom you're going to do gvura. It doesn't exist, a function on its own. That's what we already learned. So when sechel has to give guidance to chesed and gvura, he has to reduce itself to focus in on the principle of chesed and gvura, of midos, rather than the overall reality of sechel. As we said, the overall reality of sechel is that there is value to things, as we discussed already.
It has to reduce itself.
It has to reduce itself to identify with a specific, with the specific aspect of action. Chesed or gvura. When you do chesed or you do gvura, you focus on chesed and gvura. You're not focused on being a human being.
So what does sechel help in the middle?
Fair question. Sechel directs the midah. How do you express what you want to express? like the other day. You feel kindness towards this person. What are you going to do? We learn, we read in the Haftarah. Elisha Hanavi was a Talmud of Eliyahu Hanavi. So it tells us Elisha Hanavi came to a place, and he was housed. He was given lodging in his homes, and this Isha, there is a woman there of stature, and she makes sure that everything is right with this Elisha. She realized that this is not a simple person. To the extent that she set up a separate attic room for him, and in this room she set up a table, and as you would say, a pen and a pencil, for a scholar, what Elisha would know. And when he came, he was directly erected there in that room. He was very pleased. There was a bed there, and he lied down on the bed, and he asked his mishamish, find out what's bothering this woman. Why is she doing all this for me? Does she need any particular help? Does she need political pull? Is this the reason she is going out of her way? So this mishamash of Elisha, Gehazi, said to him, so he called her, and he asked her, and she says, "No, but see, I'm a simple person. I don't have any involvement in anything externally." So Gehazi speaks up and says, "However, she doesn't have a child. Bein-in-law. She doesn't have a child. This is what's pressing her." So then Elisha promised her a child, and there was a So this focus on the bracha for a child is a focus. This is the chesed. You want to do a chesed, but identify what chesed fits in here. At first, he tried to find out maybe she needs political pull. This is all where the chesed sechel comes in. How do you do what you want to do? What do you want to do? What is your kindness to be expressed in? This is where sechel comes in. I think that was answered, the question.
It states that when the midas grows with the cycle, let's say when you're small, you play around and do maybe childish things, and when you grow up, you want more mature things. Is this connected to what we're learning now, or?
This is connected with the growth of midas rather than the growth of sechel.
Because it states that the midas depends on the cycle. As mature he is, that's how the midas changes. So we see that the cycle has some kind of has an effect on the midas itself.
So how deeply would a child be touched with the fact that this woman doesn't have a child? Would that arouse special concern? Who is concerned about that? A mature person.
Okay, so what does it point to? That the cycle is is creating the midas?
There's two separate inyanim. Sechel, yes, before the fight of sechel, sechel guides the midah. Then there is a growth in the midah itself. This is the overall growth and maturity of the person.
It seems before midah even comes about, we said the sechel has to contract itself or reduce.
The sechel has to reduce itself to focus on the particular midah.
This sounds like it has a full perspective, let's call it. It senses the richness or the depth of any situation, but then it sort of needs to withdraw so that one
step
gets taken.
Stop. The word situation does not fit at that level. Seichel as a koyach hanefesh does not talk about that situation.
Well, just being used as some mamutza between seichel per se and midos, human activity. The seichel is involved with a context or beyond context, then it's sort of what?
Okay, as long as you understand it's beyond context.
Yeah.
Okay, seichel knows that there is something valuable. That you're in this world not to waste your time but to do something. What? That remains to be found out. When a person wakes up and feels, I wasted the day today, what irks him? What is he missing? What could he have accomplished? Does he think in terms of what he should have accomplished and missed? He feels bad for having wasted the time itself. What's the waste of time? That's a sechel inyan. Human life is significant, and if it goes to waste, it's beyond. It's not a midah concern. It's a sechel level concern. This is where the sechel is reduced to focus on the midah.
Where? This is where the sechel. Where is this?
In order to identify a specific midah, they have to reduce the broad perspective of the sechel. There is something real, there's something important that the sechel, sechel lives on, so to speak, on the broader importance level. Then it reduces itself to be mislabesh and to relate to a particular situation.
Like the wasted day.
No, wasted day, that's the overall thing. That's the overall thing, that's what you said. But rather than say, okay, this woman doesn't have a child, what are you going to do for her? One second. I want you to think before you. What intrigues you when you know the woman doesn't have a child? Why do you care if she has a child or she doesn't have a child? She feels bad. She's lonely. Is this what bothers you? Or are you recognizing that having a child is talking about a broader significance in a person's life? And this is where your concern stems from. And then you reduce this particular concern, the concern for her well-being, her human well-being, and you identify it with the child. If you had no broader concern, then the child would not mean anything. And they say, your child, you need company. Okay, let's continue.
Can I just?
I don't think so. I think you finished this.
Because I'm a little confused. Till now we learned always that the relationship with sechel and midas, that the sechel is moilig and midas. Now we're learning that the sechel is guiding the midah. Is that correct?
The sechel is ma'oren midas. That's also guiding. That's the sechel identifies where you should go. That's also the midah does not. The midah does not stand from the sechel. The midah is given value, given place by the sechel. Just like Ratzon also creates sechel, as we discuss it, maybe not sufficiently. We'll still get to that. Very, very simple. Okay. In order to furnish a room, you have to have a room. You can't furnish a room when you're in the desert. You come into a room, then everything begins to sprout out. This is the sechel that say, oh, this is a real good about this is a good place to develop. And if you don't have there's nothing you can develop. You can project a dining room in the middle of the desert. So the sechel provides a base for midas. The base that sechel provides is there is value to life. Life is significant. Life is a divine gift. Life is not the result of the cholent that you ate, or kugel, or ice cream. Life is a divine gift. And sechel appreciates, I can't waste that gift. And this is when midas begin to surface. How do you utilize this gift? Okay. And again, the higher koyach, like sechel, needs to contain itself, contract itself, and reduce itself to be able to identify itself with the lower koyach. Without having the higher level, you wouldn't have the spirit to put it in the lower koyach. Like I said, a child would mean company. But a child is not company. A child is life. Eternity. For that you have to start at a higher level. All right, so now we are at the end of the third line from the bottom of the top section on page 4 base. This hagbola, this contracting aspect, limiting the sechel to a specific level, to a limited level, then he is capable, he is slabish, then the sechel is able to be mislabish. Mislabish means to actually relate to, be dressed up in it. In a koyach that's lower than the higher koyach. Avol horotzoi. Okay, but the Ratzon einoi koyach pnimi. The Ratzon is not a koyach pnimi, which means it is not a koyach that gets imbued in anything, that's identified by something, by anything else. It does not fit into any situation and become this is my place. Kiyim. Rather, what is Ratzon? Koyach atzmi. Okay. This is so to speak, a term that goes completely beyond our capacity for understanding, because we can understand only that which has a world level presence. World level presence is a presence that has present and not present. Let me see where it's coming from. What are its parameters? Koyach atzmi means an essential. I'm coming from the etzem. Koyach atzmi is exclusively sourced in the godly will. Only God can provides for koyach atzmi. Atzmi means it's like this because it's like this. Because it's me. I'm a reality, I'm a real presence. And this reality brings out these koyachas.
Koyach atzmi here meaning like Ratzon?
Yeah, well, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Ratzon is not koyach pnimi kim koyach atzmi.
Yeah. So the English expressions like exercise your will or use your willpower, these are anomalies, these are completely off base. Or yesterday we said it's not by sechel that you get out of bed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Ratzon.
Mm-hmm.
So this is as if to say he gets you out of bed in the morning.
That's right. Absolutely.
We just have to get out of the way, or what?
No, we have to. No. Don't get out of the way. This is what's pushing you. This is what's guiding you.
Right, but it's
no,
sort
not
of beyond.
Right. No, not right.
This is what's pushing us, so it's outside our own volition.
No, it is our own volition. This is what we want. This takes us out from our worldly parameter, expense, presence. Puts us in a different reality.
Definitely. But I'm just looking at the degree to which my own sort of involvement is present or absent.
You're not involved. You are given that quality, and you follow, and you accept it.
I accept his will that I get out of bed.
That's right.
And do I have an element of I make a decision to get out of bed, or rather I just sort of give up to his?
If you're going to ask yourself, you're going to sit there and contemplate.
Okay, so
the power to get you out of bed is his gift.
Right. So when people say things like, I motivated myself to do X or Y, or this is kind of, or I used my willpower to get out of bed this morning. This is kind of a not true depiction of what's happening.
No. The terminology is even confusing.
Yes, it is. So it's more that I follow through on what he would want. The Ratzon is coming from beyond me.
He means reality. You get out of bed because there's reality in the world, in life. This means he. This is not separately identifiable. Koyach atzmi means a koyach that represents an essence. If you are for real If your presence in the world is real, you're not just an accident. But there is, let's define the word real. I'm using the word real all the time. Real means something that is true in and of itself, not because of some kind of peripheral causes. Like we say in the example, to save a life is not explained by this man is going to pay taxes or he's going to do such and such. He's going to do mitzvahs. He's going to do whatever he's going to do. A goisis, somebody who is on his last breath in life, is a living person in the world. And he sustains the world. He gives the world a value aspect. It's valuable that you have a world in order to accommodate this person. Spoke about this many, many times. The contribution of the human being to the world is not what he can develop the world. But this is what gives the world a significance, makes the world into a world. I always ask the question way back when, what would the world be without the human being, despite all its richness? At all levels, the plant level, the animal level, all level. Adayman Semeach and Chai. Without the Medaber, what would the world be? The Medaber presents an inyan atzmi. It gives the world an atzmi quality. Time is over. I just want to, it always pops up in my mind. The cursed Germans who forced upon the world the crime of, so to speak, of the creation. This is exactly what happened. They were so smart, they identified things by their smarts. What's in human life? What he's able to do. We are smarter than them. Let's get rid of them. They were not slaughtering. They were just like cockroaches. They lost sight of what the created world is. They lost their own soul completely, even goyish souls. Okay, let's call it a day.